Hello everyone, Dino Don here with the start of a new project this winter. For now the Corsair aircraft build is on hold till springtime. So I mentioned in my last week's video that I was going to be doing a restoration on this 1983 Mustang. This is basically a GLX model that's getting converted into a GT 5-speed 5-liter setup. Excuse me. Been out here all day basically working on this, grinding and cutting. So this is going to be basically a full restoration job. As you can see, I've already yanked the whole front end out of the car. K-member, got that all out yesterday and stripped down, and basically that's all I'm keeping is what you see right there. May or may not keep even that. I have my donor car outside that if it's in better shape I'll use those, but if I tend to use this stuff it'll be completely stripped down clean and refinished, painted, coated, whatever. The lower control arms there I'll probably, once I knock out the ball joints and sandblast everything, if they're in good shape, otherwise I'll use the other ones, but I'll end up powder coating those. I could probably powder coat the whole thing because by the looks of it that'll fit in my oven. So the biggest thing on this car was the radiator core support. As you can see, it isn't there no more. It was all rotted out on the bottom. There's pieces of it left there to cut it all apart to get it out. The whole front nose cover with the headlight buckets and everything in there. Hood, a bunch of other stuff. And there's the spindles that I'll be saving those. Those will all get cleaned and probably powder coat that stuff as well. A lot of this other stuff, mash cylinder, all that, that'll all be replaced. I won't reuse any of that. So I've got pieces and parts, everything all around. The rotisserie is not going to be going on until after this front end is repaired. The problem I had on this side is the battery box sits right here. And as you can see, the acid from the battery runs down into the frame. See how that was busted for the sway bar point. The inside is just rusted away. On the later model Fox bodies, like the fuel injected cars from 88 to 93, they like to rot out right here. All this usually goes out on them, but this one wasn't that bad. But once you got it apart, you can see that down inside that apron assembly strut tower part is rusted pretty bad. So my options are to cut this off and replace that, or my donor car out there looks like it's in better condition, so I may end up just cutting that assembly off. Just come in here and cut it, because this here is bent up, but it's got a rust hole in it there, so I could patch it or replace this whole piece here. And so, but all that on the other car is fine. This is fine, but the rail is the exact same condition as this one. That you can't see until you get it apart. So I drilled out all the spot welds on this. And then here you can see the tubes that go down through here. These are where the bolts go through the K-member here and here. They go in these outside two. And you can see the inside of that frame. That's an extra, this bottom piece here is actually, this piece comes down and rolls under and wraps around. So that's in bad shape. Surprisingly, the other side is in great shape. I won't need to do anything to it. This was all drilled out and been open. My original idea is to get some 16 gauge and make a new one of those. Basically make it a replica of that. LMR, I believe, sells a repair kit where you get that piece, that top cover piece there, and this piece here, I believe, comes in their kit. But they're like $300 a side. I'm not sure if I want to spend that. The rest of this is in good shape. It does have some rust up under here, and this edge here was rusted on both sides, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure why it's doing that. My spare car, parts car outside, it isn't rusted like that. That stuff is in much better shape. There was a nest in here, probably from chipmunks. Had all kinds of insulation chewed up in there, so it was pretty dirty in there. Some of this stuff is mostly surface rust, but down inside the cowl area there is some more rustiness, like in there. It goes in, and that floor in there starts getting pretty bad, and there is a couple pinholes I noticed through there. So I may or may not work on that. I may end up pulling this whole cowl out. The windshield's got to come out anyway. And the donor car, this car did not have air conditioning, but back inside there are big round ports for cold air to come in for a floor vent. There was a pull cord on the side down there. You could get some air vents to the floor to your feet and such. So there's one in each side. And what happened is water got in around there and it didn't seal and it leaked through, and it caused a rust through condition in the floorboard of the car. As you can see here, it rusted this very little bit of corner. This I'll just cut out and weld in a patch, clean this off because that's part of this frame here. All this stuff up in here on the other one is fine, it's perfect, it's clean all the way down in there. There's some sediment in there, but there's no rust, it's super clean. So, and again, here you can see this is rusted for not sure why. The other car is in great shape, but another problem is right there. That's what happened to the floor, because up under here's these holes I was talking about where they come in, and then the water run down and sat behind. There's a mat for the firewall. I didn't see any of this until after I took that matting off the firewall. Pulled the carpet out, never even seen that rust until the mat from the firewall was removed. So that's going to be, I'll cut that out of the other car. You know, probably cut it up around here somehow, over and back, and then I'll just replace that with the patch panel. But in order to really fix this thing underneath, you'd literally be pulling this whole thing out all the way across the dash once the windshield's out. So it might be an option. Like I say, this is going to be a complete restoration. And then the only other little spots I found so far is that little hole there. There's some rust up through there, and the other side it's kind of rusted across there. But overall, for being a car that's what, 30-some years old, it was a 1983, it's in incredibly good shape. The rocker panels aren't rusted out, not at all. Everything's nice and clean. Just dirty, but they're solid. There's no rust. The whole back end of the car underneath, it's all in great shape. The undercarriage of the floor panels and everything were completely undercoated originally. This has the typical seat brace cracks, floor cracks. So that's going to have to be welded up and possibly reinforced. I'm going to do some type of subframe connectors on it. What surprised me was when I jacked this car up and set it on the jack stands, I could literally see the car flex. I mean, it flexed like this, humped. When I jacked it up, put it on the jack stands, let it down, I could literally see the car flexing. And being a hardtop car, it's really surprising to me. But I mean, I tried it like 3 times to verify what I was seeing, and sure enough, it seems to be flexing because it doesn't have a full frame. It's just a unibody. So right now, I do have a brand new course board already in the house for it. The only bad thing about those aftermarket course ports is these headlight bucket areas. There's a reinforcement panel on the back side of the course port. Well, you get the course port, but you don't get that bucket panel. This one, as it came down around the bottom was all rotted out. I already took it all outside, but threw it away. But the bottom, you know, all this stuff was like a double pieces that go on the back. So luckily the stoner car outside, the course port was bent, but it wasn't rotted out. So I was able to cut that core off, take those panels off. The driver's side was a little mess, so there was some kind of little accident there that crunched that corner. But I was able to take it apart, save it, and they're ready to be stripped down and prime painted and then spot welded onto the new piece. And then that'll all go back on after I finish this. So I may end up, in order to really fix this, if I decide to change this strut tower with the one outside, I literally have to pull all this off. There is a guy on eBay I found that sells, he has the panels that go from here, this seam, all the way forward, the whole apron with the frame. He has both sides of them on eBay. he wants like $550 a side. So, I mean, in the long run, it'd probably be faster, and it'd be spotless, brand new, old stock, 1983. 550 bucks. So that's kind of a hard pill to swallow. I'd love to buy it. That side, I don't, like I say, I don't need it. That down inside that one, that seems to be very, very clean. I can see all the way into here, and it looks really good in there. Even in here, it needs cleaned out, but for the most part. So this is basically week 1 of my Mustang Restoration build project. So hopefully throughout the winter, with this garage nice and insulated now, I haven't had any heat on, but it was staying in the 50s, upper 50s all day today. It's been extremely windy, raining on and off. As you can see, I got me a painter's drop cloth, throw it over to the Corsair to keep the dust down on that over the winter. But summertime, springtime, we'll get that back and get her finished up and over to the airfield. So, and then I've got on this car, I've already got the seats all completely reupholstered. I'm changing this from a single fold down rear seat to a split fold down. This is a 1983. They didn't come with the split folds until 84. So I bought a set of those, reupholstered them with OEM fabric. That was still original fabric, 30 some years old. So the interior is going from this blue to a charcoal gray. I just loved it, and that wasn't an option in 83, so it's not the correct interior color. In the GT, you could only get, I think, white, black, or red. So that's the only bad thing. But the 83s and 84s were identical looking, except for an 84 GT didn't have a hood scoop. And they had fog lights in an 84. So half year 83s or 84s looked like the 83s, but no hood scoop. I mean, it was hard to tell the difference between a GT and an LX on the street back in the day, because I had an 84 LX 5-liter. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's amazing how light this car is. I was pulling and prying on that part over there, and I could literally damn near knock this thing right off the jack stands. It moves so easy. But I'm gonna leave the rest of the stuff on because I don't have a lot of places to stuff anymore, as you can see. Just setting the hood there is going to get in the way when I need to drill press and the press and such. So, but eventually, once this front end is all tied up, one of the biggest things is getting this glass out of here. It looks like it's been replaced because this is not butyl tape. This is some really tough stuff. I mean, it looks even worse than urethane. It is extremely hard stuff to cut. It's probably urethane, but it's in there. So I got to try and get this trim off and save it. I'm doing all black trim on the car, so all this chrome will be black. I have the pieces off my donor car that's all black. The doors will be cut off here because I'm putting T-top glass in. This will be cut off here. It takes a different glass, which I have that, and then the roof will be cut right about here and right about here, all the way across for the T-top to go in. That's not, but all this glass, this will all come out, all this come off, the trunk, the hatch will come off, the doors will come off. So by the time I get this front end finished up, those bars, like this bar here for this adjuster end, this will get a hole drilled in it, and it will literally bolt to the bumper, which I think is all over there. But anyway, where this comes out, it's going to bolt right here, right there. And then the rear bumper is a wider spread, so it gets the wider bar. And then it'll go on the rotisserie after the rest of the car is emptied out. So, so that's what I'm going to try and do this winter if the weather doesn't get too crazy. I kind of get really lazy when it gets snowy and cold outside, and I don't want to come out here. I don't want to go out into the weather. I originally wanted to build this garage as an add-on to my house garage, but then that required a state code inspection and all that stuff, and I didn't want to go through all that, so I had it detached from the house. But if it was attached to the house, I'd be more likely to get in and out of the garage in the winter weather. I just hate going outside in the cold. So, but there are things, I got a carburetor I'm going to rebuild and everything. So there's stuff I can do in the house in the winter when it gets too nasty to even bother coming out here. I've got my torpedo heater to help me warm it up, but I was out here till like after 7 o'clock last night at work, and I just didn't want to stop. But I did all this, what you see here, yesterday and today. So, I mean, I tore that whole front end out, cut this whole thing off. You seen the video last week, the car was all together, and I blew it all apart. So, now it's just determination of how far I want to go with this. To do it right, I mean, this is the way to do it right here, is do this. I see a lot of patch repairs on these things that I wouldn't trust for shit. This side, like I say, is fine, but I may end up taking this out and just putting the other one in from the donor car, just because I don't like this. I can patch it, but I'll know it's been patched, and I hate that. So again, I may end up pulling this whole cowl off and replacing this whole panel here. There's actually 3 pieces. You got this panel, the panel in here, which is all this lip here, and underneath is the lip for the firewall. So you got 3 pieces welded together here. But in order to change that panel, you got to pull this off, pull this whole top piece out. This is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. But this side under here, it does have a lot of rust in there that it's not going to stop. Even if you try to get in there and pour 15 or whatever rust converter stuff, I don't trust it. And then a lot of the seam seals got to be cleaned out and redone. So that's going to be it for this week, folks. Sorry if you're tuning in for the Corsair, but like I said, that project's going to be waiting until springtime. I done burned out on that thing, and I've been chomping at the bit for the last couple years to get started on this project. This is basically just going to be a summertime fun car, cruiser, take the car shows, drive cruise-ins and such. Like I say, I'm heavily looking at going to turbo. It's going to basically be a complete stock build, engine and everything, but I'll probably looking to do a rear mount turbo. The turbo will mount clear back here under the bumper cover in the back end. So there's a rack and pinion I took out of it. Don't intend on using it. I already took the one out of the GT car, this donor, and did a complete rust rebuild on that. Put a whole new seal kit in it. Blasted it with the Aqua Blaster, and the thing looked brand new. All new inner outer tie rods, all new boots. Zinc plated all the metal tubings and fittings on it, so it's brand new looking. But the turbocharger, since this car originally only had a single exhaust, V8 with single exhaust, came out here with a dual pipe, the turbo will probably set up in here if it'll clear the gas tank. But all this is going to come off, covers, taillights, all that. The whole rear end will come out and basically be chucked out into the scrapyard. The rear end out of the GT will be used because it's a traction lock. It's only 7.5 inch, but for street driving, I don't think I'll ever break it. There's one of the, see it, that's one of those vents that bolts up underneath the floorboard or underneath the dash. So all the rest of this interior has got to come out. None of it's going back in because I already bought some charcoal gray ones that are going to get all repainted. Like I said, I've got a lot of parts. Mostly all the stuff I tore out of the GT that was reusable, I completely restored. The windshield wiper motors have been completely tore apart and replated, zinc plated and all that. And I got a lot of stuff. I bought all kinds of parts for it already. I got brand new front brake calipers and all new bushings for everything. Every bearing, everything in this car is going to be replaced or rebuilt. When this thing's done, it's basically going to be essentially a brand new car. So, what you can't buy is going to get restored, and what I can replace, if it isn't worth saving, will be replaced aftermarket. So, but the bulk of everything is still going to stay. Because this is going to an AC car, this had dealer installed AC, this has to be cut out to match a regular car, and then a bigger hole down here for the drain system. But luckily when they did this, it's within the area that has to be cut out for a factory air. And I've got all that already completely rebuilt, refurbished with all new cores inside, and it's ready to go in the car. So most of the interior parts of the car are ready to go in. I got brand new carpet, everything. So, alright folks, these updates as they come through, I'm going to probably list them as 83 restoration updates. So this is week 1 of the build process of this project. So when it's done, it's going to be metallic silver, charcoal gray interior, 5-liter 302 4-barrel high output with a 5-speed transmission overdrive, manual transmission overdrive, traction lock rear end, single exhaust, and probably a turbo. So the idea is to get it up to like 500 horse. 500 horse in a car that weighs about 3,000 pounds. Going to be a lot of fun on the street. So, all right, folks, as always, feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns. I will answer them as they come through. Appreciate everyone taking the time to watch my videos. So for this week, this is going to do her. I got to get my Ford Fusion up to the garage tonight, drop it off. It's getting front end alignment tomorrow. So I got to cut this video short and get that car out of here. So, all right, until next weekend, folks, again, thanks for taking time to watch the videos, and we'll see you in a week. This is Dino Don out.